Did I read the same book as everybody else? I just feel nauseous. I have no idea why I bought this. I don't like how it feels and I don't like how it looks. This series, I swear to God, is my villain origin story. Hello, my name is Aubrey and today I have a much needed unhaul video. First of all, my shelves are already getting a little bit cramped and I need to clear out some space. I have books that I need to unhaul because I have upgraded to special editions, so I just need to get rid of the originals. I have books that have been sitting around for ages and ages that I just don't either see myself getting to ever or see myself getting to anytime soon. So I'm getting them out of here. And then I have some series that I ended up not enjoying and I'm gonna be unhauling those as well. So that's today's video. I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna try to be snappy about this because there's a lot of books here and I just want to get through them as quickly as possible. So I'm going to start with the books that I just have upgraded to special editions, so I'm just getting rid of them because now I have nicer editions of them. So first off we have Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I now have these gorgeous hardbacks from the Broken Binding, so I don't need this anymore. This is a series about spiders on a distant planet and I am genuinely very excited to read it. Like I said, I just don't need this copy. Next, I have the First Law trilogy paperbacks. I bought these ages ago and while they are really beautiful, I love the floppy paperback and I do genuinely really love these covers. I have somewhat recently upgraded to these beautiful hardcover editions from, again, the Broken Binding. These were the very first books in our subscription. I don't need two sets. I'm going to be getting rid of the paperbacks, obviously. Again, super excited to read this series, but I don't need the paperbacks. Next I have The Priory of the Orange Tree. Again, I feel like I got this somewhat recently, but I was able to get the Illumicrate special editions, so I do not need this one anymore. Same with the We Hunt the Flame duology. I was able to get the Illumicrate hardcovers instead, so keeping these, obviously, and unhauling these. And then lastly, for the special edition upgrade unhauls, I have the Graceling trilogy. I've had these for ages, so Graceling, Fire, and Bitter Blue. I was able to snag the Illumicrate editions of this series, so getting rid of the old, keeping the new ones, you get it. So next up are books that I just don't think I'm either ever going to read, that I'm going to get to anytime soon, or books that I've read that I just don't want anymore. So first off, I have a few Tana French books. I got these at a library sale for like 25 cents each. I don't know what order these are in, so I'm just going to hold them up, but I have The Faithful Place, Broken Harbor, The Trespasser, and The Secret Place. I read Tana French's first book, Out of the Woods. I didn't like it, like at all. Well, I should say I did like it up until the ending, which really, really disappointed me. I've heard much better things about her later books. The thing is that I'm just not a mystery girly anymore. Like, I used to be really much more into mysteries and thrillers, but I really have not been drawn to pick up mysteries or thrillers for several years now. Besides which, even when I did pick up mysteries, I didn't tend to keep them because once you know the mystery, I feel like there's not a whole lot of point in rereading them. So I don't know. I have had these sitting on my shelves for a few years now and I don't think I'm going to get to these anytime soon. If ever. I know Tana French is a beautiful writer. There is a part of me that's curious about the series and curious about continuing, but I don't see it happening anytime soon, and I'm sure that I can get these from the library, that I can pick them up at another time if I want to. But these are really large hardcovers that are taking up a lot of space in a genre that I just don't really find myself drawn to anymore. Similarly, I have Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. I have read this and I did really enjoy it when I read it. I just don't see myself ever rereading it, you know? I kept it originally because the writing was so good and so impressive to me that I thought at some point I might want to reread it just for the writing itself. But again, I don't think I would reread it anytime soon because it's all still very fresh in my mind. I just think I can pick it up at a later time if I want to reread it or get it from the library. Next up I have This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, who I believe now goes by V.E. Schwab, even in her young adult novels. I do want to read this one day, I just don't want this edition of it. I saw beautiful anniversary editions on Book Depository, which is very upsettingly closing, by the way, so I think I will be trying to snag those instead of this. I've had this, again, a pretty long time. I've just never really liked this edition. Even though it's a hardcover, it's got this like really cheap paper, like this really cheap cover that I've just never really liked, and I don't like how it feels and I don't like how it looks. So yeah, I'm getting rid of it to get the anniversary edition. Similarly, I have The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson. Again, I do want to read this one day. I don't know when I'll get to it, but this series had a cover change as well as a fourth book in the series, and I would just prefer to have all the books matching, and that fourth book is not going to match these covers. And I like the new covers anyway, so I think I'll just collect the series in paperback with the new covers and get rid of this. So yeah, again, I do want to read it one day. I don't want this copy. All right, next up, I have a bunch of paperbacks, and I've just realized that I don't need to have any paperbacks in my life that I'm not going to read in the next 6 months. There's just absolutely no reason for me to hoard paperbacks. Paperbacks don't go out of print. At least none of these books will go out of print. I can pick them up at any point that I'm ready to read them. Like, I just don't need to have them if I'm not going to read them anytime soon. So, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. I cannot even tell you how long I've had this book. I'm sure it's a beautiful story. I'm sure it deserves all the praise that it's gotten, but I have never read it in all the time that I've had it. I've never felt compelled to pick it up, and I do not think I will be compelled to pick it up within the next 6 months, so I don't need it. Bonfire by Kristen Ritter. This is actually an arc, which is really fun. I got this at BookCon, one of the years that I went to BookCon, probably like, I don't know, 2014 or 15. And, you know, I'm a huge fan of Kristen Ritter. I absolutely love her. I loved her in Jessica Jones and Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23. Like, she's one of my favorites, and she wrote this thriller, but I just don't think I'm gonna read this. I mean, again, maybe one day, but not in the next 6 months. I don't need it. Next up, I have Born by Jeff Vandermeer. At one point, I was very interested in Jeff Vandermeer and all of his weird sci-fi books. I'd been reading his like more famous series. I think it's called the Southern Reach trilogy. That's about like the weird Area X. I don't know. There was a time in my life when I was very drawn to that kind of sci-fi, and I may be again one day, but currently I just don't see myself reading this anytime soon, so it's gonna go. Then I have Two Like the Lightning and The Will to Battle. These are both, I think, sort of space opera sci-fi books. I don't even have book 2. This is book 1 and book 3, I'm pretty sure. I remember exactly why I bought these. Sam, over from Thoughts on Tomes, who is one of my favorite booktubers, was reading the series at the time, and I remember seeing these books on like Book Outlet or something, like they're remaindered copies. I saw them on Book Outlet, I decided to order them, but I have no idea what this series is about anymore. These have been sitting on my shelves again for a really, really long time. I just don't need them right now. I'm sure the series is great and I may pick it up one day, but when I do, I can easily replace these paperbacks, you know? So they're out. Okay, these next few are going to be really controversial, so please don't come at me. All 4 of these are books that I plan to read one day. I'm just not going to read them anytime soon, and I don't need to have them in my house, okay? So the first is The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. Obviously, this has gotten a lot of awards, very highly acclaimed, and I am really looking forward to reading it one day. It has something to do with opium, but again, I've had this so long that I just can't even really remember what it's about, so yeah. It's gonna go. Next up, I have Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, and again, I definitely want to read this one day. It is, however, a very difficult story about a modern woman who keeps getting sent back in time to the era of slavery in the United States. And I mean, I've heard that it's a very, very difficult story. Again, I do want to read it. I just don't think I'm gonna get to this anytime soon. I've also seen some different covers for this book that I enjoy more, so when I do plan to read it, I think I would like to have a different copy. Next up, I have The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I may have even hauled this book on my channel at one point, I can't remember. I picked this up at the used bookstore. I know it's a dystopian. I think it's about a father and his son trying to traverse a scary, desolate America, but I'll be honest, I haven't been in the mood to read a lot of dystopian lately. Every time I think about reading one, especially an adult one that's like really gritty, I just feel nauseous. I just feel really, really nauseous, and that sucks because it used to be my absolute favorite genre. I loved dystopian. I loved like post-apocalyptic stories. So at one point, this was completely up my alley. But lately, I just have had a lot of trouble picking anything like this up. Yeah, again, I'm sure that this is an excellent book, and I will hopefully read it one day. I just don't see myself getting to it anytime soon. Okay, the next one, please don't kill me. It's The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. Look, I'm gonna read this, okay? One day I will read this book. But I have had this copy for probably 10 years and I've never read it. I've never even felt kind of inclined to read it. I've heard fantastic things, of course I have, but for some reason I just have never felt compelled to actually pick it up. So I think it's time to let it go, and one day when I'm in the mood, I can easily find another copy of it and read it. Preferably the hardcover, right? I feel like for a book like this, I would much rather have a hardcover anyway. So yeah, again, I will read it one day. I'm just not gonna read it anytime soon. I'm so sorry. And then I have Pines by Blake Crouch, and I have actually read this and I loved this trilogy. I have no idea why I bought this. Actually, I do know. It was $1 and I was thinking like, oh, I really liked that trilogy. I read them on Kindle Unlimited. I would like to have a physical copy. I guess I'll just buy that. But I absolutely hate movie covers like this. Like, I hate them. So I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. So yeah, I definitely like this series enough to buy just like the regular paperbacks for the trilogy. I don't need this or want this. So now we're gonna get on to the more controversial stuff, I guess. If Unhauling the Night Circus isn't controversial enough for you. I have Daytime Shooting Star. This is a manga that I read last year. I did enjoy it. I thought it was really cute, but the first half of it had a student-teacher relationship that I just did not enjoy. It just kind of bogged down the series for me. I don't think I'll ever reread it for that reason. And so while I did enjoy the series in its entirety, I think overall it just ended up being like a 3-star series for me. It was cute, I enjoyed it, but I don't need to keep it. Next up I have something very controversial. It's the Poppy War trilogy by R.F. Kuang. Nobody is sadder about this than me, okay? I wanted to love these. I really did. I thought based on the reviews for this trilogy and how much people love it and revere it that this was going to be an all-time favorite, and I was so ready. Unfortunately though, I just don't get it. I don't know. Have you ever read something that other people were praising so highly and then you read it yourself and you were like, did I read the same book as everybody else? Like, did I get the same book as everybody else? That's kind of how I feel about these. The Poppy War, the first book, I gave 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but I had a lot of problems with it. Mainly the main character I find infuriatingly written. I understand that she is supposed to be an unlikable character. However, it is not the aspects of her personality that are unlikable that I don't like about her. If that makes any sense. Like, I get that she's selfish and ruthless and cutthroat. Like, I get those parts of her personality. Like, those are not the things that I didn't like about her. I found her character to just be so inconsistent. I felt like the author would just write her however she needed to be per chapter, but wasn't really giving a lot of thought into her overall arc or who she was as a whole, if that makes any sense. Like, I just felt like she would flounder around, and like sometimes she would have a certain set perspective on something in one chapter and then she would just flip-flop to something else in the next chapter. Sometimes she would have like a really profound thought and then nothing would ever come of it. She would question something in one part of the story, but then when it comes up later, it's totally fine and we're not going to question it. I don't know. It just drove me crazy. It literally made me feel crazy reading this trilogy. So anyway, like I said, the first book was 3 stars. I gave The Dragon Republic 3.75 stars. This was my favorite by far of the trilogy. And I had really hoped that The Burning God would continue the upward trajectory. I thought that if this was a 5-star book, that would save the series for me, you know? But this was a 1-star book. I just did not enjoy this at all. Things that we were building up to, I felt like fell completely flat on their faces. I didn't understand. I just don't think I really understood what R.F. Kuang was even trying to do here with this trilogy. Now, I am not up to date on my Chinese history, so maybe there were some truly inspiring or profound things that she was doing here that I just couldn't see, but from a, I don't know, from a fantasy perspective, from a just like general storytelling perspective, I didn't like this, and I didn't like this trilogy, so I'm unhauling it. I know that's a hot take, okay? I know it's a hot take. I know it's an unpopular opinion. I really genuinely don't want to dissuade anyone from picking these books up if they speak out to you, because I am by far in the minority. Most people seem to really love these, so I guess it's just me. That's okay. Still give them a try if you want to. They just weren't for me. And then lastly, I have probably one of the most disappointing reads of my entire life. Let's just be dramatic about it. It's Death Note. And this series, I swear to God, is my villain origin story. I am so angry. I'm so angry about this series because it's really good. It's like brilliant, okay? It is brilliant until it's not. All right, so volumes 1 and 2, fantastic. All right, we've got this like sociopath kid who finds a death note on the ground, and when you write someone's name in the death note, they die. And this kid named Light Yagami finds this notebook and he decides he's gonna rid the world of evil with it. So he just starts killing off criminals, like hundreds and hundreds of criminals. He just starts writing them down. And so all these criminals start dying off one by one by heart attacks. Like, he's not trying to cover it up or anything. He's just writing them, he's just writing their names down. They're dying of heart attacks. And someone starts to take notice that that's kind of weird, that all these criminals are dying off suddenly. And so it starts this sort of Sherlock and Moriarty-esque feud with Light Yagami being this, you know, mysterious person to the outside world. Like, they don't know that he's behind this, right? They call him Kira, who is like the force that's like killing all these criminals. The other side of that equation is someone who goes by the name of L, and L is trying to catch Kira, and it's this battle of wits, and it's really fucking good. Volumes 1 and 2, 3 and 4 are by far the best. They are so good. The drama, the tension, the murder, I mean, I don't know, it's just like really fun. It's really dark. It just sucks you in. 10 out of 10 right here, okay? And I read these first, because these are bind-up editions, so I know for a fact I had volumes 1 through 6, I think, when I was a teenager and these books were coming out in America. So, you know, I read like the first 4 to 6 volumes when I was younger, and I have just been under the impression that this was like a favorite series of mine all this time. Because the first few volumes are so freaking good. But volumes 5 and 6 start to dip in quality, not quite as good, but still enjoyable. And there is a decision that is made at the end of this that I just think breaks the series. It just breaks it. And unfortunately, the last half of the series is nonsense. I mean, it's nonsense. First of all, it gets really boring, which sucks because the beginning was so exciting and engaging. I found the second half to be just like really hard to read. But second of all, it just gets really stupid. So it's still this like battle of wits between Kira and another new intelligent person. It's not Elle anymore, it's someone else. But the deductions that they make about each other and trying to figure out who the other one is, it starts to get bafflingly bad. Just start guessing. I mean, they will just say something and be like, oh, this must mean this. The author is trying to pass it off as a deduction, but they're just guessing. They can't possibly, like, you can't possibly know that from that. Like, the trails of logic just started to get stupider and stupider, and I just thought that the ending of the entire series was so disappointing. So disappointing. Light Yagami, Kira, being a sociopath, cares about nobody. Right? Like, he treats everyone in his life like a pawn in this bigger game that he is playing. And the fact that that was not his undoing, like, I just don't know what to do with that. I don't know. There are so many things about it that I wish had gone differently. But also, the treatment of the female characters in this series is appalling. It is embarrassing. The female characters in this series are they fawn over Light, like they fawn over Light or Kira. They're like obsessed with Kira, and so they are willing to do just anything he says with no questions asked. They don't have any agency, like they're just he's just able to use them so easily, and they don't question anything, and they don't do anything other than exactly what Kira wants them to do. There is one female character at the beginning of the story that is interesting and capable and smart, and she actually figures a bunch of stuff out, but they kill her off almost immediately and in just like a really awful way. And I don't know, this series just went from being like something that I thought of so highly to something that I just absolutely detest. I hate that. I just can't even stand to look at these anymore. They make me so angry. So yeah, I'm getting rid of them. All right, that is it for my unhaul. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know what books you need to get off of your own shelves, because I know you probably have a few. So yeah, please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. I hope to see you next time. Bye.